Hello curl friends and guy friends, welcome back to the channel, The Silver Crown. If this is your first time coming by, make sure you subscribe and click that little bell, the notification bell, right next to the subscription button so that you will get a notification every time I upload a video. Alright, so today I had some more questions. One of them in particular was, how do you deal with single strand knots? So this one is for you. Okay, so one of my subscribers, I hope you have subscribed, Margaret, asked a question concerning single strand knots, and I thought, well, that's a topic I've not covered on this channel before, so I thought I would give it a go. Anyway, single strand knots are knots in your hair. They're not always at the very end of your hair. It seems that it occurs mostly with people that may have high porosity hair. And the reason I say that is because our cuticles are generally lifted. So it's very easy for our hair to get tangled. Now, our hair naturally, if you have the coilier or kinkier texture hair, draws up quite tightly, and when it draws up around itself and around hairs that are right next to it, and then when you go to comb it or pull on it, it makes a knot, almost like a slip knot, except it doesn't slip all the way through. So it's most troubling in high porosity hair, and I just wrote down some things as I was thinking about what it is. I think it's first of all important to understand what exactly it is. Okay, so it's most troubling in high porosity hair and tighter curl patterns. Okay, so if you have what people would call 4C hair, maybe 4B hair, you'll probably have it. My husband has type A hair. It's straight, it's oily. You could fry a pan of chicken on top of his head. He does not get single strand knots. Case in point. Anyway, so Margaret wanted to know, what do you do about it? Well, first of all, dryness is the enemy, okay? The fact that our cuticles are open like that, and then if your hair is dry, it's just a very bad combination. So I would say, first of all, moisturize. Use a shampoo that says moisture shampoo. And there's a difference between shampoos that say moisture shampoo and strengthening shampoo. Okay, the ones that say strengthening shampoo usually will have some type of protein in it, some type of keratin or something to make the hair stronger, which can also be a little drying, right? So if you're dealing with a lot of single strand knots, you want to make sure that you're using a shampoo that says moisture on it, somewhere in there. It has to be a moisture shampoo. And also your conditioner, whatever conditioner you're using, you want something that has a lot of slip. See, when you have hair that's prone to do this, it's almost like you kind of have to take extra care to make sure it doesn't happen. Hot oil treatments are very good to help keep the hair more slick. Now, you don't want an oil slick, of course, but you want to make sure that the shampoo, conditioner, and after treatment that you're doing gives your hair enough slip that where you're trying to detangle, it's not wrapping around itself and breaking your hair off, okay? So I also want to say, when you're detangling, whether you're using a comb or whether you're using your fingers, however you do it, take your time. Don't rip through your hair, and because pulling on it and dragging it down and starting from the top instead of at the end will also add to you having knots in your hair. So take your time when you're trying to detangle and work in sections. Now, the more hair you have, probably the smaller section you're going to have to use when you're doing your hair to make sure that you're getting all of the knots out. Now, not all of them, but you will get most of the knots out. And let me just say that single strand knots are inevitable for this type of hair. Tight, coily textures. You can't not get them just because of the nature of our hair that coils up like this. But you can minimize how many you get, and you can minimize how much breakage you have by handling your hair the right way in the first place. So the best thing to do is to take preventive measures to keep as many of those knots from forming as possible, okay? Another tip I want to say is avoid using cotton towels and pillowcases because they dry your hair. Cotton is not our friend. Not our friend. It'll dry your hair out. You'll have a very hard time detangling or doing anything. Even if you wet it, your hair will be coiled up. The other thing is, I want to say, is if you have high porosity hair, using protective styles, or what people call protective styles, for a long period of time, 2 and 3 weeks and stuff like that, is really not good, especially if your hair is prone to dryness. Now, to me, this is common sense. Of course, everybody's going to do whatever they want to do or whatever they feel their life schedule allows them to do. But the reason I say that is because when you get to the 3rd day and you're dealing with coily or tight textured hair, your hair will normally just start to lock, okay? This is when you get to the 3rd day, your hair is starting to twist around itself, and it's better to take your hair out once a week minimum and moisturize it. Give it some oil to keep a little slip in there and retwist it. Now, some might say, oh, that's over manipulation. Listen, it's a balancing act, okay? So it's over manipulation if you don't absolutely need to do it. But if your hair is drying out, you need to take it out and moisturize it and retwist it, okay? And like I said, stay away from cotton, anything on your head unless you have a silk scarf, a silk bonnet, or satin or something like that that doesn't cause friction on your hair, because friction just makes it, I'm telling you, our hair has a life of its own. It'll just make it curl up against each other. When you're sleeping, you're not in one position all night. You're moving around, your head is moving around, and your hair is moving around. And so, you that back and forth motion or that twisting and turning that we do when we're asleep also causes our hair to tangle. And this is why naturals generally wear satin bonnets or silk bonnets. I have a satin pillowcase, and I also have a satin bonnet and scarf that I use. I don't use them all at the same time, but I do have 2 that I will use every night. I have a bonnet and a pillowcase, that goes with me everywhere I go. So moisture, like I said, is key. Dryness adds to tangling and also breakage. I wanted to say, back to the shampooing, using a moisture retention shampoo and conditioner is good, but an extra step that you can do, not that anybody's looking for anything extra to do, caring for their hair, but another thing that you can do that will help is if you give your hair an oil rinse. In other words, before you, after you get finished conditioning or deep conditioning, whatever you're doing, and you rinse that out, you may want to go ahead and put a little oil in your hair. Let it sit for a few minutes and go ahead and rinse it out. Now, some people would call that like what they do as a pre-poo, right? I'm talking about doing this after you have shampooed. Go ahead and oil your hair. Let it sit for a few minutes to get into the hair. Use penetrating oils. And then rinse your hair in cool water. Now, I didn't say cold water. You don't want to shock yourself. But you do want to shock your cuticles closed, okay? So if you go ahead and rinse your hair in cool water with that oil on it, it'll help you when you go to section your hair off and start combing it, okay? Don't yank if when you start combing it, don't yank your hair when you get to a knot. Just take your time, take your time, take your time, and get the knot out. If you can't get the knot out, cut the knot off. You have no other choice. Otherwise, it's going to break, because when it ties up like that, it causes a weakness in the hair. The hair is, anyway, it causes a weakness, and it's going to eventually break. So another thing that you have to do, which I just did yesterday, if you're looking at my hair and you say, oh, her hair looks different, it looks shorter. It is shorter. I just cut it. So it wasn't a deep cut. It was a trim, and I cut off probably 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Now, so trimming your hair or getting a haircut, or what people call dusting it, I'm not exactly sure what's the difference between dusting it and trimming it, but anyway, when your ends get rough, or you're twisting your hair and you find you got this one tiny little piece of hair that's just hanging down there by itself, just cut it off. Just cut it off, because it's going to get a knot on it. It's going to tangle on you, okay? So, let's see. What else did I write down? Okay, I mentioned about protein treatments. Now, let me say something about protein treatments. We could do a whole thing on protein treatments, but I'm just going to say this real quick. Not all protein treatments are made alike, okay? I use Achristopats 2-Minute Miracle. That's the one I use, and I use it maybe once a month to help fill in the holes. I'm sorry, my phone keeps dinging, you guys. To help fill in the holes on my hair, because I have high porosity hair in a lot of places. It's really mixed texture, but I definitely have high porosity hair. And it helps. It helps with breakage. It helps with shedding and all that, because it strengthens the hair. However, Achristopats also has a 2-step process. I do not use it because my hair is fine, it is low density, and it is fragile. And I don't need something that strong or that heavy in my hair that I have to try to get it out without breaking or snapping my hair, because it will break and snap your hair if your hair is not strong enough for that intensive of a treatment. So, the 2-Minute Miracle, what I usually do is, after I've washed my hair, before I condition it, I'll put in the 2-Minute Miracle protein treatment from Achristopats. I do not use their conditioner, because I don't like it. It's like water, and it made my hair hard, and I just found it to be too much. So the 2-Minute Miracle worked just fine for me. And what I normally do is I'll put it in after I wash my hair, before I condition it. I put the 2-Minute Miracle protein treatment in my hair, and then I go ahead and wash the rest of me, which takes longer than 2 minutes. But anyway, I go ahead and do the rest of that. I got a lot going on over here, girl. And by the time I get finished rinsing me off, then it's time for me to rinse that out of my hair. After I rinse that out of my hair, then I'll go ahead and condition or deep condition or whatever I'm doing that day. So the last thing I want to say concerning single strand knots and how to try to avoid them is low manipulation. So this is what I mean, excuse me, when I say it's a balancing act, because you have to comb your hair, right? If you have tight, coily hair, kinky hair, your hair is going to wrap around itself very quickly, and it will tangle very easily. And so using protective styles for long periods of time, I just don't recommend it. I see people do it, and then they go to take it out and they wonder why they have all this hair loss. Well, you can't, it's hard to moisturize your hair when it's braided tight like that. It's just hard to get all the strands unless you're pouring water over your head every day or every other day, or some other kind of moisturizing technique that you're using without taking the braids out. So when you do that, all the other hairs that are not the exact same length as the rest of your hair, it's going to start to wrap around the other pieces. You understand? You're going to have problems. So I'm just saying, Margaret, that's what you got to do. They are relentless, like you said, but they are They're a fact of life depending on the type of hair that you have. So I hope that helped Margaret, and I hope that helped some of you. The reason I trimmed my hair was because I was seeing a lot of shedding, and I was seeing some breakage, and I was seeing all these little BB things on the floor when I would comb my hair, or I wasn't even combing it. I would just take out a section, excuse me, give it a little bit of water, and then, you know, just rub the water through, and I had little pieces coming off in my hand. Now, granted, I told you guys, I'm not the most faithful when it comes to taking in the amount of water that I need to take in to keep my hair healthy. I am working on that. Oh my goodness. Anyway, it's a little bit shorter. So, but that's okay, because now when I comb it, I won't have all these little pieces falling out. I'm going to have to be more attentive when it comes to keeping my hair moisturized and keeping it trimmed. Now, in regard to single strand knots, like I said, trimming your hair is a must. You're going to have to do that. And some people are like, well, I don't want to lose my length. And, well, don't cut off 2 or 3 months worth. You know, don't cut off a whole inch if you can avoid that. I just cut a little bit at a time, just a little bit at a time. And, you know, some people may have to do it more than twice a year. It just depends on how fast your hair grows and how often you're having problems with these knots. So some people just get aggravated when they cut all their hair off. They do a big chop. They say, this is my second big chop. I've not done a big chop. I transitioned for a whole year before I started clipping my hair, a little bit at a time, little bit at a time. So now it's fully natural, but I do have to, it is prone to breakage and tangling just because of the type of hair I have. So anyway, I don't want to keep you guys forever. I just wanted to make sure I answered that question, because it is not a question that I've ever had on this channel before. And I thought it was really interesting. And you guys keep your questions coming. I will do my best to answer them. So now, there might be other ways to deal with single strand knots that I don't know about. If you do something that I didn't mention in this video, please put it in the comment section below, because we're dealing with different hair types, right? And like I said, single strand knots is mostly an issue with the tighter pattern hair. So, and that doesn't mean other people don't get it, but I'm just saying, is there some special shampoo or something that you use that someone else may want to give it a try if they're really having problems with this? And make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for keeping me on the air. This is not a job. This is a hobby. God bless everybody that gets paid by YouTube. Yeah, that ain't my story. So anyway, I'm doing this just because I like being with you guys and hearing what you have to say and sharing what I know and finding out what I don't know from listening to some of you guys. And I just like being here. So thank you for keeping me on the air. Make sure you check out my other channel. It's called the Achristopats Adventure and Travel Channel. You will find that link below. Also, you can go to the top of this screen on the right hand side and you'll see a little icon that says My RV Life. If you click on that, you'll see what I do outside of talking about hair. It's a travel channel. Sometimes we're traveling, sometimes we're not, but it's an adventure and travel channel. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at it. I hope you will subscribe to that channel as well. Give me a howdy do or a hello when you get over there so that I will know that you're there. And I'll see you guys the next time I come on. Keep it natural.